Alright, number 7, it wants us to watch a video and solve the problem. We're just going to solve it. We don't have to watch the video. So we're going to do x minus 4 over x plus 2 is greater than or equal to 2. Alright, so what we still have to do, figure out the critical value for the bottom, because we can't divide by 0. So x plus 2 cannot be 0. So if we subtract 2, we get x cannot be negative 2. So that's one critical value. The other critical value we get is by trying to set this top equal to 2, because when we actually move this over minus 2, this has to be 2 minus 2 equals 0. So basically this needs to equal 2. So we're going to multiply I'm going to multiply this over, and then distribute 2x plus 4. We're going to add, let's actually do it the other way. We're going to, I guess we got to move the x on the left side anyway. We're going to subtract 2x. I usually like to make the x positive, but in this case I like to have the variables on the left hand side, so it's unavoidable. Give us a negative x minus 4 greater than or equal to 4. And then add 4. And we get x greater than or equal to negative x, that is, greater than or equal to 8. So x, let me actually divide by negative 1 and run out of room. So this gives me x has to be less than or equal to negative 8. Alright, so if x is negative 8, and we're going to check, this whole thing should equal 0. So this is what I'm looking at. I'm going to move from my original problem right here. I'm going to move, subtract 2 over here. I'm going to plug in negative 8 and see if I get a negative or 2, so that this ends up to be 0. So if I do negative 8 minus 4 divided by negative 8 plus 2, and then move this negative 2 over, so minus 2 greater than or equal to 0. I've got to set that equal to 0. We're trying to find the critical value. So doing the math, we get negative 12. Gives me a negative 6 minus 2 greater than or equal to 0. That gives me a 2 minus 2 greater than or equal to 0. Alright, so this checks out. So our critical values are 8 and negative 2. Actually, negative 8 and negative 2. Be careful with those signs. Negative 8 and negative 2. Alright, so a number on this side we can check is 0. Number in between these guys, let's just do negative 5. And a number on the left side, negative 10. You can just pick any number in that area. And this is all the way to negative infinity and positive infinity. So instead of going up and down, I'm just going to refer to this screen. So here is our problem. We're going to find out when this is greater than 2, more than positive 2. So if I plug in, I'm actually going to find the numbers this time. So I'm going to plug in negative 10. So I have negative 10 minus 4 over negative 10 plus 2. That's 14, that's 8. So negative 14 over negative 8 gives me a positive 1 point something. What is that? 868, 1.75. So it's actually still smaller than 2, because if you think from moving this -2 over, when you subtract 2, this actually is going to come out negative. So since it's smaller than 2, we're counting that as negative because it's smaller than the number that it needs to be above. So it's kind of like negative if it's below that number, positive if it's above. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing with -5. -5 minus 4, -5 plus 2. And I'm looking for it to be greater than 2. Or if it's not, then I'll put a negative. So -9 and -3. -9 over -3. That gives me +3, which is in fact greater than 2. So this comes out, we say positive. And then the last section is going to be 0. So 0 minus 4. And then 0 plus 2. And so we have -4 over 2. And that gives me -2, which is not greater than 2. So I'm going to say negative here. Alright, so the one that's greater than 2 is the middle. So that is from -8 to -2, and we will put brackets around the 8 but not around the 2. We don't put brackets around the 2 because that's the bottom number that cannot be equal to 2. So -8 to -2. So bracket -8, and then -2 is in parentheses. So you always got to be cognitive and aware of the numbers that are not included, especially when you have the equal to, because if you're not careful, you'll put brackets around something that shouldn't have brackets, and it will cause it to get it wrong.